All right, guys, welcome into Coffee and Chel, episode 38 of the premier NHL video game podcast. Myself, Sleeves, and Keso here to break. Today's episode is very GWC oriented, all right? Not going to beat around the bush. We're going to talk a lot about it. I just got back from Montreal. It is now concluded, and we can unpack it and all the kind of stuff. Keso, you're going to lead the discussion, but I will fill it in where it is necessary. But what have you been up to this week? I was probably more busy than you. Maybe I wasn't more busy than you.
Yeah, actually, I went away this weekend.
Where'd you go?
Well, you were definitely more busy than me. The fact that no, I went with my wife and her family to Put-in Bay, like in
Pudding.
Ohio. Have you ever been there?
What a fun word,
Putin,
bro.
Putin, Put-in Put-in
Oh,
Bay.
that's
Have you
not
ever been
nearly
there?
as fun. I've never been there, no.
No, right? No, Pudding Bay is where Bill Cosby used to, But
Jesus.
no, it was cool. I just went away for the weekend. They rented a cabin, so you like it's a small island. I want to say it's like 1 square mile or something.
Okay.
So like you drive around on a golf cart, you go to bars, you go
That's
eat,
kind
you
of
do
sweet.
stuff. Yeah, and that was pretty much it, like it's pretty cool. It's like this huge party island, and I didn't realize that. And
Oh,
it's like one of those places you go to in your early 20s, and if you don't walk away with an STD, then something was like wrong.
okay.
That's the kind of vibe it was. And it
We
was
have,
weird that her family
we
wanted to
got
go there.
something. I used to have a cottage at a place called Turkey Point. There was something called Potahawk every summer, which was there's a lot of sandbars on Lake Erie where that is,
Yeah.
and basically everyone brings like 5,000 boats out to this sandbar. They anchor, and then it's just if you escape without getting something, that's a W.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right, yeah. I got back from Montreal and got to experience the full gambit. Got to hang out, dude. I had my tires pumped by Gary Bettman.
That was pretty cool. I was surprised he was there for the first year. I don't remember if he was there again after that.
He handed out the trophy to like cooks and whatnot.
Okay, so 2 years in a row he did that.
Exactly, yeah.
And then obviously the COVID stuff.
hmm He actually
But yeah,
just had COVID because he couldn't hand out the trophy.
yeah.
But yeah, nonetheless, I guess he tested like negative and whatnot, which was good. It looked like he was like still battling it, right, a little bit, but
Yeah, something seemed off on the video.
yeah, I think he was just battling it. Like it
Yeah.
looked like I guess he had like a rough time with it, but
I mean, he's not a young guy,
no,
right?
like and it was dude, like I had no idea that was happening. It happened like 5 seconds before. Like production was like, Gary Bettman's here. He's gonna hop on with you after this commercial. I was like, what? I was like, thank God Carlin's the host. That's where like I really appreciated having Carlin as a host because I was like, I don't know what to ask Gary Bettman. Like,
I was so surprised watching that because like she did an amazing job, but you and Grizz have like experience doing smaller events.
Yeah.
Obviously you did like the online stuff, but you guys were able to like quick to come up with questions for the people that came on, and
I
I
was
thought that
nervous
was
about that too.
yeah.
Like Geeky and Savoya, who
Yeah,
were
it's
both
like,
awesome.
what do you even ask? Like, oh Gary, what do you do in your free time?
Yeah, what's your favorite versus team? Like,
Yeah.
But no, yeah. So the event was done. It was back in person again. It was my first year being the voice ever, the play by play of it, and I had a lot of fun, man. And I got to meet a lot of people. The crew that qualified this year, vastly different than the crew that I like. 2019 was probably my most fun trip in Vegas. A bunch of us went out, like Jaff and CJ 142. Pens went out, and then it was like the qualifiers were like Cooks and John Wayne, and Josh was there. So it was like older guys that qualified, and I was younger, and now it was like everyone was under 20, and I'm 30. So like it was like.
Dude, it's a young man's game now.
Yeah, I was
We
like,
talked about
I'm
that
not
last
going
time.
out with you now. Like I didn't go out with them at all. But they had a really good time. There was someone they met up a lot. There was a Discord of like 40 people that came down for the event in Montreal, and they went out like every night. Like it was, I got invited, but But
Yeah,
shout out to Bobby the dog. He was like the dude, like the party manager. Like he like made sure all the kids got to like if they were going to the casino or whatever. He made multiple trips. The hotel made sure everyone was there. Everyone got back safe.
You like calling the Ubers and stuff.
Yeah, dude. Like he was on top of things. The one night they went out to a club and he had like bottle service for him and stuff. Like it was just I was impressed. Like for that.
That's Bobby the Dog 88 on Twitch,
Yes,
right?
yeah, Bobby
Yeah,
the
he's a good
dog.
guy.
So I earned you know what's funny? Okay, so I got to I'm at the height of my popularity of NHL. Okay.
Only downhill from
It
here.
is
Yeah.
only downhill, but I got to meet a lot of people that came up to me. I got a really funny story about getting recognized. But whenever I meet someone in the community, guys, if you ever meet me in the community, if you meet anyone in the community, and if you met on Twitch or YouTube, if you come up, it isn't dumb. Introduce yourself with your tag. Because like the first day at rehearsal, I met like 10 of them. And I went around and shook all their hands or whatever. And I was like, yo, I'm Jeremy. Yo, I'm Ron or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, so the next day I went up to him, I'm like, guys, we're gonna do this one more time. I have no idea what your real name is. Like, let's do it again. And then I was like, oh, okay, it's Rampage. Oh, it's like all that. Like it was like much better. So if you in the future, just if you interact on Twitch, let me know your Twitch tag.
Were there any like any of those like Twitch trolls there, like those random people that come in and hate on you?
Not really, no. Like there was
Okay.
it's Crosby, but he's just a little
He
mouthpiece. Like
qualified, right?
he
Or was that
qualified,
the
yeah,
other?
and he showed up. He showed up. Saphir was there. BBG was there. I
That's
love
the
BBG.
that's the major one. Did he have the fork with him? The sport.
He did not. No, he just was a normal kid having a blast. Like he was
Yeah,
just
he's a
happy to
nice
be there.
guy.
Very nice. But yeah, so it was dude, it was so busy. I brought my dad. Me
Yeah.
and my dad never do anything, just me and him. I don't think we've ever, like, maybe since I was a kid. He said he wanted to see me cast an event, so I said, okay, why don't we just show you the best one, the biggest
Yeah.
one? So I brought him out, and he's a very like reserved guy. Like he just stays at home. Really, he has his local bar that he goes to. Like he's very very regular. Like with the stuff, he doesn't really go outside the box and travel and all that kind of stuff. So, but he had a good time, and I had a really good time with him. Like, it was an experience that I will not forget when he is gone. That I am very happy that I got to. We went to the draft, and bro, I don't know how much you pay attention to the draft, but the draft is usually never that big in the building that it's in because usually the team that has it isn't drafting first overall or anything like that, and they're not the Montreal Canadiens, so it's like just insane fan base. And then like all the drama, bro. Slavkovsky goes number one. I don't care if you're a Habs fan listening. I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news. No one at that arena, and I would be willing to bet about 70 or 80% of Montreal Canadiens fans that did not go, wanted Shane Wright. So Slavkovsky got booed getting off the bus outside. Like there was like 1,000 people outside before the draft, and Slavkovsky gets off, he got booed. So,
Yeah.
anyways, there's like all this tension waiting to see who would get drafted, and everyone just assumed it was Shane Wright. So Slavkovsky goes and one. It's like, dude, it's this eerie silence. Like everyone's like, and then it's like 5 seconds goes by, and then they're all like, "Yeah, that's my guy!" Like, you know what I mean? Like it was like they cheered, like the place went nuts. But dude, and then it was like every pick after. So the Devils go too. They don't draft right. They draft Nemec, which is probably the right thing for them because they already have their top 2 line centers. And then third, with dude, there was a point at which Shane Wright was going to play in the Bell Center to the College Barn because Arizona picked third, and they took Cooley, and now he fell to fourth. And dude, his ego, it took a hit, and like I think it came off prior to this next moment. I think it was like everyone just kind of seen him as like like an ego. He said that he was good enough to go first and all this kind of stuff, and maybe he wanted the clout of it. Obviously, you do. Like obviously, if you're a
Yeah.
player, you want to go first overall. Dude, so Shane Wright gets drafted to Seattle, and I don't know if you've seen the clip yet. He goes and shakes Bettman's hand, and the Canadians table's right at the front. Bro, right as he turns to go and put the Kraken jersey on, death stare for like a
saw that
second and a
clip, yeah.
half. And I was like, bro, I want this guy to blow up now. I'm fully on board. I got to meet him too, and he's a very nice kid. I want him. I'm fully on the Shane Wright train. I hope him and Matty Beniers in Seattle. Seattle had an unbelievable draft, which is awesome, as it should. I can't
Yeah.
stand
No,
that.
I don't, dude. I don't follow any of the draft in any sport ever,
I feel you.
especially hockey.
Hockey
'Cause
is
I
like the
always
least
think it's just
impactful the next year. So yeah,
it's
I get
always
that.
a crapshoot though,
Yeah.
because it's like unless you're like a generational talent or something, and you knew McDavid was going to be
Yep.
amazing. But
But
other than that,
those picks
it's
are
always
easy because you
random.
know he's going one overall.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then before the Shane Wright pick comes out, right at 4, so 3 picks is gone. Dude, Bettman goes back over to the podium. Everyone's just slamming him with booze, and he's like, "You guys might want to lay off the booze because I have a trade to announce, and both of them involve Montreal." And everyone's like, "Oh!" Everyone thought that they traded for the 4th overall pick, and we're gonna take Shane Wright. Like the place went. It was like they just scored a playoff goal. It was absurd. Like it was so much fun to watch in person. Like I said, most drafts are kind of lame and boring, probably in person. Like they're not very. This was absurd. Like this was. It was crazy, and it's supposed to be one of the weaker drafts. So I guess in the long run, it like probably doesn't, But it was really fun to be at. In terms of the GWC, the kids got to go on the stage. I got to walk on the stage before the draft. I got to go and get a picture and a video of it for my vlog, which was
I saw the
awesome.
picture of you guys walking across, but then I saw all the people that were down below, like not even facing the
Oh no,
stage.
dude! It's like most important people in the sport are like like
Yeah,
right there, and like they had to go do a promo picture on the thing, right?
yeah.
So that was really cool. The GWC as a whole, um,
I want you to do the behind the scenes stuff before we
yeah,
go into the games.
okay.
Anything else that stuck out?
Like so the venue, I thought the European venue was the best venue that EA or that GWC has put on, even more than Vegas. So the EU one, I don't know if anyone didn't watch it, it was in like this, it was like a theater, but it was like an esports theater. Like they set it up there, so the acoustics were great. The seating, it was like theater seating. The stage was really well done. This they had to work with like, it was tied to the draft tavern. The I think it was called Tavern Modern is like literally connected to the Bell Center. So it made sense, but they had to basically convert a 2-story bar into the GWC Finals. So they did a great job with it. But I think that was like, again, I think that it was fine and it looked really good and everything like that. I think that, but I just think if I were to rank like the HyperX studio in Vegas, the European one in Maastricht, and then this would be third. So,
Okay.
but it does. Rumors that they do have interest in going back to Vegas, which is awesome. Yeah, man, I want to get your thoughts. So as a competitor that like had a chance to like be close, you had a death bracket. That and like you would have ended up having to face the eventual winner.
Yeah.
Just we'll talk about your like thoughts and what you want to see improvements on it then a little bit. But in terms of like the behind the scenes stuff, rehearsal took like 8 hours. It was really long, and again, it was because like they were, they had to test a lot of different things there. I went out to dinner like every night with my old man. I didn't get in till like 3 in the morning every night,
Damn.
which is tough. Like the day of the broadcast, like I met Pete
Yeah.
Blackburn at like 2 in the morning or 1:30 in the morning at a bar right around the corner. Like he is hilarious and confirmed very short, which is
I've seen
hilarious
the
too.
picture.
It's
Is
so
he
funny.
shorter? I'm like 5'8". Is he shorter than me?
I'm 5'9", and
Okay.
yes, like I was like, oh dude, this is great. Fuck, I need you to hang out with me all the time. Like what I mean? Like he was a really awesome guy to meet. I got to hang out with Jordan from the Isles and a couple other guys from the NHL scene. Kevin NHL, which is the nickname I deemed for him. He was someone that was working behind the scenes his first year doing the GWC. I thought he did a great job, and I'm excited to see him kind of maybe transition to a bigger role at the GWC. And I think he's got really good ideas, and he's like ambitious with it. I think that the guys that were running it the last 5 years, great job of creating it. Kind of got dealt every bad hand with COVID, and then when COVID like ends enough, EA releases 4 separate consoles. So like they
Yeah.
could never get like momentum. Like 19, I remember it was like, man, this thing's gonna become awesome. Like I
Yep.
remember meeting the guys that worked for the Madden competitive team, and the Madden League is like one of the best in terms of 1v1.
It's like 10 years ahead right now.
Exactly, and they were the Madden team was literally in Vegas, and was asking me questions back when I was like a nobody, just like my thoughts on it and like how they should run it, and it sounded like they wanted to go to like 32 team tournaments, and then COVID just derailed the whole thing. And even this year, COVID still impacted it quite a bit because they wanted to do Worlds. They wanted to bring Aki or the winner over to face, but in December, like I think a lot of people they don't understand that like when legal is involved, it is so frustrating to do literally anything when a legal department is involved. So like in December, they have to release this legal document. If you went and signed up for the GWC, it was like 15 pages long. That has to be ironed out before you go and register because they can't have you register for an event and then change things in the background, right? Like afterwards. I mean, it says subject to change, but like the major points of it, they can't really change. So Omicron was like gigantic at the time. This is like right in December, right? So they had to be like, hey, we can't bring him over. Like we don't know what the rules are, what it's gonna be like in in June and July, and that was tough, right? But they have a huge interest in doing that, at least it seems. So hopefully next year we get back to Worlds and maybe we see Eki versus Regs. I know. So Jordan
Yeah.
is the guy running the manager for Isles GT, which is the gaming team for the New York Islanders. And if it wasn't for him, the lack of team involvement is just so sad because it's right there. Like, NHL puts on this tournament. There's no requirements from the NHL teams, and it's like just free engagements. Like every social media team for the NHL, every NHL team literally just missed out on free advertising and like a good story, because there's nothing going on unless you're the Colorado Avalanche or the Tampa Bay Lightning. You had nothing going on. Your accounts are just sitting there until the draft of free agency. So
Yeah.
it was a shame, but Jordan went above and beyond and went out to both events. And again, I consider him a close friend now, and so interested in growing like NHL esports and making sure the Islanders, really pushed Eki and Regs. And I thought that they did a great job. He's very well represented, and I hope to see that more teams kind of take that. That maybe not as as involved, because he is at the hyper end of involved, but at least a little bit. And I think that they can learn a lot. So I had a couple meetings with NHL teams about some future things that I can't discuss, but I'm excited about.
Yeah.
But my next chapter in terms of broadcasting, I think that's the one thing. I got again. I don't like hearing my own voice. I think that I don't know if many creators do. I hate hearing my voice in the broadcast. I can never watch a broadcast back. But I got told enough by people that I respect enough that I should continue to grow that. So I'm gonna try and host things that aren't just NHL. I'd love to host a Call of Duty event or a Halo event, things like that, and
Oh, you
try
did
to.
really good. I mean, you
Yeah,
know that because you got that feedback from whoever, but like you didn't miss a beat whenever it came to the gameplay
yeah,
and the play.
and it would be. I think it'd be really fun, something that interests me, and it never. And I'm not gonna lie, when I started casting like esports events, it was like literally, there's like 4 ways to make money in the NHL video game space, and if I want to make this my full time job, I need to have everyone. So that was the only reason. I really didn't have a huge interest in it. It just kind of grew, and I kind of got to like as high as I could go in this space. Like I really don't know how. I mean, I guess I could be the host and the play by play, but like I don't think that works as a broadcast. So
Yeah.
it was really good. Yeah, I don't know what else behind the scenes. But
There
no,
was only from the viewer perspective, there was only like one hiccup, and I think it lasted like 10 to 15 minutes.
of what.
And there was like a point where the stream got really laggy for everybody watching.
That was
Other than
I
there was,
guess yeah, there was I don't know if that's just due to where the venue was.
yeah,
So there's
yeah,
I mean I think that DreamHack, they did a really good job dealing with what they had available to them. Because they were at the mercy of whatever the NHL wants, right? And I think that's just from what it seems like, they had to kind of scramble in terms of venues. Again, COVID was a big thing in Montreal. So again, when you're trying to plan a venue for an event like back in March, you don't know if that's gonna work, things like that. So they did the best they could, but yeah, definitely, it definitely did have a hiccup there for a little while. But I thought that Jens from DreamHack specifically, he was like the guy in our ear, made it very easy on us. So yeah, I have no complaints
yeah. No,
about it.
other than that, I mean, I think that's sometimes to be expected too during like things that last for however long that is. It's a 5 hour stream, I think.
Dude,
And if there's only like
that was
10 minutes,
long, and
yeah, that's not bad.
I was trying to keep up the energy, and I texted Kevin, like right before Regs and Eki or Regs and Gren went on, and I'm like, dude, I need this to be 2-0. Of course it wasn't, because I felt like I was gonna pass out, because I was
Yeah.
just screaming, trying to keep his energy as high as I could, and I don't take breaks. So in between, if there's a commercial or something, I don't leave to go to the bathroom. I don't get something to eat. I even rarely drink, and drink any water. And it was just I was getting a little lightheaded. I was just I need this to end, and it was fine. It did, and it went well. The scary part is calling the end. Jens, I'll never forget. In Europe, he's just don't screw up the ending. He's of all the things, he's you cannot screw up the ending, because that's what they'll use in promos in the future. That's what they'll use as the big thing on Twitter, Instagram, all of it. He's do not do that. So I memorized the ending call, which was good. And yeah, it was good. It was fun. Regs won, and a crazy series. It went 3. I thought that, and even in the game 1, it looked like it was just nuts. But yeah, I think that needs to be said, that I've learned now from competitive NHL. to all of the people that complain that this game is luck based, we had the same two kids be 1-2 3 years in a row.
Yep.
And that simple, and when you think of the game that we play and how luck is involved, and there are games that are determined by a flick up and a random goal and it just being you know what I mean? But like, to overcome all of that in best of threes,
3 years in a row.
3 years in a row, I think that says enough. I think that if you put in enough time and you have enough talent and you have enough instinct, it will not matter at the end of the day, 9 times out of 10. So, again, Gren and Regs, what's sickening is that there could be a fourth year. So as the bracket was going on, like, part of me is like, I love a new champion. The same thing with real hockey. I love like a new champion. I hate seeing repeats for the most part, but it was the same thing as Tampa this year. We're never going to see 3 Stanley Cup champions again in a row, probably in our lifetime, just how the salary cap works and how, the bubble and all of that worked out for Tampa. But I don't know if the GWC keeps going on. Like, I don't think we'll ever see something like that.
The only way you'd see a different winner is if it goes back to that national, or like USA and Canada separate. Whenever you have both of those combined, it doesn't allow for some of the other people to maybe make the top 2 or top 4. Because Gren and Regs are clearly better than everybody else, right? And they're going to go through everybody else and meet each other in the finals unless they get unlucky and have to play earlier. But those older formats allowed, I think, some other people to make it further.
Yep. Oh, there was definitely, like, I'll even say this, Lebanese man, who was like the guy that kind of the odd man out this year, who definitely took advantage, or not took advantage. He won the games he needed to. He was had a little bit easier bracket because of PlayStation 4, and some of the better people in the community got banned. But you can't fault him for that. He took Geimer to 3 games, and I thought that Geimer, he in his series versus Gren, I think he got 2-0'd.
No, it went to 3.
It did go to 3. Sorry, his game he beat Gren.
That's actually the one I have to say I was completely wrong on Geimer.
Yeah, so that game.
The last podcast, I was like, I wasn't impressed with his play.
Yeah.
That second game, he out TOA'd Gren like 12-3.
Yeah, it was
I had to say, he had like the short end of the straw in terms of like bounces over like the course of the series too.
It was, I said this to him while he was on stage. I was like, man, that was the best game. It's funny because like I've been doing this long enough, but I haven't been there since the start. So like 2020 was really like my first year. So NHL 20 was my first year being somewhat involved in the GWC. Yeah. And I've watched like him. I remember playing him at a tournament in like Hamilton or in Toronto. It was like a little tiny land. And like I used to beat him. Like, and I remember seeing him and meeting him and then watching him play and become better at the game. I was like, dude, I've watched you basically in every single tournament for the last 3 years. That was by far the best game. And it's wild how confident he is now. And,
yeah, I know, right? Completely different person.
I think that's a super important thing. You saw what happened when you don't have confidence. Like Pogs and Gren, sad that wasn't on stream. Pogs had all the pressure in the world on him. His whole family was there. Yeah. I think that he was thinking a little bit too much about... he won't admit that, but like it just seemed like that. Like he was thinking he wanted to win for his mom. His mom has had a couple of health scares. Very good story so far. Like she's healthy now, or healthier now, and I think that he had a really big support. But I think he really wanted to make it that second day, and he did fine in game 1. But then after like the second period, he just got flooded, and he couldn't keep his composure at all. And then I feel like when you play Regs or Gren, if you're not somewhat, even Benny took Regs to game 3, dude. Yeah. I got like, dude, there was, again, that was off stream, and that's something I guess I want to talk about a little bit in terms of format changes, but it was just really good. I think that it was really fun. I thought that the best player won. I've never seen Regs play like that before, and Regs has been the best for a while. The game 2 and 3 was...
It's scary that he's the best like skilled player. He's the smartest player easily, and I'm glad that GWC has actually knowledgeable people calling the games. And you and Grizz called it out. That play he was doing with Kucherov with Gold 1T, where he would cycle his defenseman down to get Kucherov at the point. Nobody else is doing that. He's the smartest player and he's the most skilled. Like, I don't get how good he is.
I know. For anyone that doesn't know about, or maybe we didn't watch, so it was the Hut draft happens in the GWC. So at the final 16, they drafted a team of basically versus ratings. So you only have like 3 or 4 really good cards on your team. And defense, there was really no D2Ds that went in cleanly. But so what Kucherov was like a high 90s shot. So what Regs would do is he would pull Kucherov all the way around until he was at the point, and he would get it back to him, and he had like make it snappy on. And maybe it does something. We don't think it does.
He had silver 1T on him.
And too. Silver 1T, and he was just ripping them on. Like, and there was a play. I want everyone to go back and watch this. It's in game 3. And it's basically the goal that starts to flood Gren. Gren's on the power play, and Regs is shorthanded. Regs literally I know because I know he does this because I've had him on my channel breaking down his game, so I know how crazy minute and how the attention to detail he has. When you're killing a penalty, how often do you think about the guy coming out of the box?
Yeah, it's not often.
When it's in your zone, like I'm not talking you have control. Like he had gotten the puck right back at the last second, knew that his guy was coming in the box, saucered it all the way across the ice. Gren was there, but he saucered it, and it went right over his stick, and he had a breakaway out of the box. And I remember watching it in real time, being like, oh my God, like the scoreboard's on the bottom now, which is awful. And like it's not native to like where you're trying to go. Like you're trying to go up screen, and you have to look down, which is like it's my biggest issue with the scoreboard. And I was just like, wow, and that made it 3-0, and that was basically the game. Like it was just.
And every small thing he did, like so he mentioned on stream, I think, and then in some of the interviews, Shekel was helping him out. I don't know how much Shekel helped him out, but I've known Shekel for probably 13 years in the community. He's signed to the Isles Gaming as a goalie, and Shekel's a smart guy.
Love Shekel.
And Reg added in like the rebounds to his game.
Yeah,
shot. I think that might be something that Shekel helped him out on a little bit because Reg's
never seen that.
No, you haven't seen that from him in the last few years. Him adding that this year like made him that much better.
Yeah, because like every goal is so important at that stage, and anytime you can get one, like it's so like, and especially in 22 because there was the least amount of I don't want to say skilled goals. There was the least amount of quote unquote glitch goals that you could set up. And again, I think that it's bad for the competitive play because you could just sit in the middle and you're waiting for something lucky to happen. I think that certain glitch goals are I want to say mechanic goals that require you to have an advanced knowledge of the mechanics of the game. There was very little of that. So like the one with Pogues where he would drag the goaltender left and right and go back far side post is basically the only one. Like that was
I don't think we saw any. We saw Gren go for that side of the net where you skate into the goalie and it didn't go in.
No, he tried it though.
He did try it and it almost went in.
It went right through the crease.
Yeah, we didn't see any wraparounds. We didn't there were no glitch goals besides that Pogues one, and that's more of a skill-based goal.
Yep, and that isn't a bad thing, like for the most part. But I think it leads to a big reason is why every game this year more than any other NHL game, when you lost. Okay, I'm trying to word this correctly. There was more games where you lost and you felt like you should have won than any other game. Because time on attack doesn't mean everything, because it means that you're just holding onto the puck and maybe you're ozone ragging. But you can tell when you should have won a game and someone just comes down and scores a hockey goal. Like, you know what I mean? Like, taking a slap shot and it just bounces off of something and in. Like, that's really what determined. And we talked about this a ton. Like, save percentages in goaltenders. If you go back and look at the last 4 games that you guys have played, I'm willing to bet that the save percentage of your main goaltender is far higher than any other year. Because goals, like, you just don't. There's not very many unique ways to score. So, but we'll see about 23. Who knows? Let's talk quickly about like what would you like to see in terms of like format changes. Curious on your opinion.
Yeah, dude, I was watching Daddy Padre.
Well, also, if you haven't listened to the Gap Year podcast, you got to go listen to that.
Yeah,
it's a hoot.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of that because they had Grizz on there, your co-commentator.
Yeah,
they Pogues was on there, and I think Uninstall.
Yeah,
and they brought up some of the things I'd mentioned before. I want to see like obviously you want 32 teams to be active and have qualifiers. And I think it was Uninstall that said it, or maybe it's Pogues. Have 2 teams run a tournament each week, like for qualifiers. Something like that where you can sign up for that team to be represented by that team, competing in an open bracket. And then at the end of the year, they have 32 representatives, and that's how GWC works. Some kind of thing that feeds into the year-end tournament.
I think that so again, I hate. Okay, so like I spend a lot of time working with or hanging out and spending a lot of my time this year with the people in power, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And I hate that like whenever I like explain why something can't work, people think that I don't want it to, right? So
Yeah,
I
no,
want to make that clear because like
ask all the teams to be involved, right?
yeah,
And
so like the first thing that comes up is like yeah, 32 team tournaments would be amazing, and I think that that's what they would really love.
yeah,
Unfortunately, they can't mandate that. So what would happen is you would get the St. Louis Blues or the Arizona Coyotes being like, "We're not putting money into this," and now you're like, "Okay," so then the NHL has to front it for them, and then then the Columbus Blue Jackets are like, "Hey, why are we fronting this when you're doing it for that?" You know what I mean? Like it leads to a snowball. I did listen to their podcast, and I think one of the things that I think would make sense is if the NHL ran 32 tournaments, the like not the teams, and the player that won picked their team each week.
which is the same thing essentially, just
Essentially, yeah, it's just there isn't individual tournaments, right? So by
yeah.
the team run, which is interesting. What I've found the most interesting this year, but again, like you have to consider like EA loves this format. Like
Why?
we have
'Cause
said this
there's not that
before.
much work all
If you
year.
wipe out the GWC, the interest at the high level. We're not talking about like for anyone that's listening that doesn't compete in the GWC. I'm not saying that like you know you guys don't matter. Definitely do because it's fun to compete in, see how you know you might surprise yourself and do well. I think that's big to grow the GWC, right? But like I lost my train of thought. But
That's easy to happen on here.
yeah oh my god, what was I gonna say?
You were saying EA loves it
Oh,
because the
EA loves
competitive.
it because the
Yeah,
whole year. Like the longer it goes, the more that the players that have to want to win or that have a shot at winning, they have to keep grinding. They have to keep doing hut champs to get packs. They have to keep, you know what I mean? Like they have to keep it. And EA loves that. And you know, there's a relationship with EA because when you again knowing like the back end, when you watch a GWC broadcast on ice, the GWC logo's in there and Dunkin' Donuts is on the boards, and like that's huge to sell to a sponsor that runs a $150,000 tournament, right? So that's another annoyance in my opinion, like because you have to because I truly think that like as a viewer, I think HUD is still the best because it gives you the most amount of engagements. It allows the most signups. Um, it's the most played 1v1 mode, so it makes it unique in terms of like, you know, players and whatnot you have on your team. But the problem is that the broadcast doesn't show it. It doesn't show. They mentioned this. They mentioned that on Padres podcast. Like they don't show the 99 hut part this
no, they
year.
don't.
Now this year. Now again, like this was
Play on it all year too, but
yeah,
they don't.
and they don't show it. So like they're playing with versus teams that are drafted.
Yeah,
So I mean, if you ran 32 versus tournaments and then at the 32 stage, maybe every team. I would love after doing so the IHF tournament's like a whole other thing. I think it's the best tournament. But something that's missing and clearly an issue is that they can't use their own countries because it's a competitive disadvantage. So like Canada is far better than everyone else just because of the overall ratings. If you could have a competitive balancing, they have it in FIFA where whatever team you choose has 85s across the board, that would be huge. And imagine if like you chose the Anaheim Ducks and you got a Zegers that's 85 overall. You know what I mean? Like, and then you know you go from there because I talked to a few guys that like literally work for NHL teams that are like, we don't understand why Johnny Gaudreau is playing for the Islanders or things like that, and that's a tough sell. That makes it it's a little weird, right? But I think that's all things that they definitely want to work on. The four console thing was super tough. I would love to see it go next gen only next year. I think I understand this year. I understand why this year. You can't it was less than 50% of the player base played on new gen this year. So like you can't be like, "Hey, you can only compete in our tournament if you have a $500 console." Now consoles are much more widely available. If you want to be among the best in the world, you got to compete with the best, and that's unfortunately like that's just, it is what it is, right? Like but yeah, like I would love to see something like the Halo Championship Series. So I don't know if you fall like I love the Halo Championship this year because it brought back vibes of when I competed in like 2008. And what they do is like 3 majors and a couple of minor online tournaments, and they get points, pro points. And then at the end, you at a certain amount qualify for like the the finals in Orlando. And I would love something like that. I would love multiple. Like imagine, let me ask you this, like because again, then I think I'm just thinking of like the arguments, like you know what I mean, from like the other side, right? But imagine you had like a tournament that was like connected to they love tournaments connected to events, which makes sense. So like the Winter Classic is the first thing I think of. Like imagine you had a LAN, maybe an online hut qualifier in December, and the final two, the winner of each console, gets flown to the Winter Classic, and they get an auto bid to the grand finals, but they play for $5,000, $3,000.
The money doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. You get a free trip to Winter Classic.
I don't think the money should be important because I don't think, like, besides Regs and Gren, you don't have a chance to win it anyway. But yeah, that'd be perfect. All those things feeding into the next one.
Then you have the All-Star game. Same situation. You run it online like Hut if you want. Because I know, again, they're not going to get rid of EA's involvement. Like, it just isn't. It wouldn't make any sense for them for either of them.
But I think the NHL should work on expanding their roster of talent too whenever it comes to that, because they can't have you and Grizz calling every event, right?
No.
I know, and I think this year, they not that it was a step back, because I know you heard that. It's like, oh, where's Arda and Nasher, right? But they kind of built you guys up this year, and you guys did a great job. So I think if they move to more events, they got to bring on a little bit more talent in terms of, like, maybe, you call the 3 major ones, and then they have people that are training or just getting more exposure and building up the community for some of the smaller ones too. The main goal should be, people love saying creating personalities or whatever, but just getting people out there more.
I agree.
And that's what having all those events would do.
I'm wondering, even the logistics of running 32 tournaments, like, I don't know what the issue, like, so you got to think, like, let's say we're planning 32 tournaments, right? Based on math, like, so there's 4 weeks in a year, or in a month. October, you can't start, the game launched in the middle of the month. So say it starts in November, okay? November, December, January, February, March, right? So 5 times 4, that's only 20 tournaments. So that means you're running like 2 tournaments a weekend, okay? The admin requirement of that, let's say they use Battlefy, like, what does that cost look like? Do they even have like the capability of that with other tournaments they're doing? Like, do they have the infrastructure to handle 32 tournaments in the span of, like, 20 weeks essentially, right? Like, is that all, like, because I think that is the best way, because I think that you can't have region-based lands or region-based tournament. You can't have the Anaheim Ducks throw a tournament for the Anaheim Ducks, and in a certain region you can qualify and be a Duck. That would be great. Imagine every team had a pro player, like a pro quality player. That would be the ultimate goal. And then, because then the Ducks can be like, we're promoting our guy. We're following him. The Ducks fan, he could bring him out to Ducks games, like what they do with the Islanders players. Get him behind him, put a face to it. And then when the GWC comes around, like, you got teams, like the Anaheim Ducks fans being like, yo, I want to see my guy win, right? That's not going to happen. Unfortunately, I apologize to anyone out in Anaheim. There's no one that's going to be even come over close, probably in the top 50, maybe even 100 in the world, or, in comparison. So
you'd have Thrash Gaming be the rep for Detroit.
Yeah, dude. I think Jose might take that one, but, like, exactly.
No, I'm saying if they just picked who, like, the pop.
I am okay with, because, like, that's a whole other thing. Like, so like, region-based events, that's not going to happen. Like, it just won't, because it doesn't make any sense for them, and it would lead to a worse competitive tournament, which I don't think we should want. I think that you either want to become super competitive or you want to go full fan engagement. And again, Padre echoed this. Like, Padre said that. Like, that makes a lot of sense. You got to decide. And I think that, like, they do the best they can. But I think that this year, I think a format change definitely is needed. And I think that they're looking at all options. I can tell you that. Like, I know that they're looking at whatever they could do to make the best one. I just don't think, like, 32 teams, 32 tournaments is going to be a thing.
Yeah, I think for our sake and the community in general, anybody that's a content creator, fan engagement would be the way to go.
For fans,
I
yeah, but for
remember
the
watching.
actual
Did you
competitive,
did you
like,
ever watch Madden Nation when it was on TV like 15, 16
I
years
did
ago?
not know.
Yeah, so they had like a bus, and these like 12 professional Madden players would go around the country representing like a player. So like Chad Johnson, he had a professional player attached to him, and that guy would be in the tournament, and he could only use the Bengals. Obviously, it was a competitive disadvantage if he was playing against back then. Maybe it was like the Raiders were a good Madden team, but it was more for the engagement side, right? The best player eventually won. Like if Regs was in this tournament as the Anaheim Ducks, he probably would have won, you know. But I don't think it's bad. I don't think valuing that over the competitive side is a bad thing. I think it's probably better for the longevity of
I think if you
whatever.
want to, yeah, like that's another thing, right? Like if you go full to the competitive aspect, I respect that because like I want the best player to win. But here's the problem: the best player has literally won the last 3 years in a row, but the other like 10, maybe the 10 behind it, haven't been the best. Um, which is like, again, in a perfect world, you want number 1 through 50 in the correct order, right? And again, sometimes hockey happens, but like the format has made it where like that isn't really the case all the time. But we'll see what happens. I'm excited. I think that, like I said, the vibes I got is that next year is going to be the best GWC. My like feedback personally was like an early roadmap to
Yeah,
exactly like it doesn't have to be dates, months. Like you know what I mean? Like here are the things, and just more throughout the year. I think. Again, a lot of people talk about the game being GWC happening at the end of the year when the game is like at its weakest point. And that's true, but tying it to an event allows the NHL to lean on maybe sponsors and again, like, just fan engagement from the actual thing. Like, it's very easy for them. It's an easy marriage for content wise. But if that's the case, there's a couple events throughout the year. Like, there's a Winter Classic, there's the All Star Game, and I believe there's Stadium Series. So, like, all in the middle,
yeah,
like, right there. And then that could lead into the finals. I mean, I would even be okay if, like, if Jordan from the Islanders is able to get Regs and Gren to fly out for a final match, it won't happen until after 23 is out because they wouldn't be able to do it until like the season is on, right? So they're playing 2022's or NHL 22's like grand world finals, right? On NHL 23, right? So it's not gonna be like the true thing. But imagine that's like the spectacle, and then you also just tied an event like a qualifier, like a major to it, right? I think that would be cool for both parties. Like I think that'd be sweet. The Islanders get like their promo of like the two winners, like they had the best two players in both regions play and find out who their champion was overall. And then you also get the NHL, the GWC for next year, like in at that same place. And UBS is like the dude. It's a castle. Like it would be a great place to host an event, but we'll see. I'm excited for NHL esports over the next year. I hope the game is better, and I hope that it happens earlier, which I know it will. I can almost confirm that it will happen far earlier, and the format will be different. So no matter what, I don't know if it's good or bad. I would assume it's good. Like I said, this year feels like it's the most they're gonna put behind it to really try and flush it out. And I'm excited. I think they have a really good guy and a team leading the way in that. And I've had the pleasure of being pretty involved with them. And again, like I just feedback back and forth. And I'm really excited to see the things that are going to go on next year because no matter what, they will be better, in terms of the format.
yeah. No, that's exciting to hear. Yeah, I hope they listen to the right people. I mean, it sounds like they're starting to. Past few years with COVID and everything, it's
It was
understandable.
just done to be done. Like they were
Yeah,
just trying to get through it. Like it was tough.
yeah,
And they did a great job at it, but like it was like you could tell like they were just trying to make it keep happening, which says a lot. You know what I mean? Like that's you can't fault the NHL because they're probably not getting a ton out of it, and they like they did the due diligence to make sure there's 5 straight years of it during a pandemic.
dude. You know what's crazy though? I wonder what Madden's getting out of it though, because like, like obviously it's a bigger game,
You mean
but
EA?
they run. What's that?
You mean EA or Madden?
Like EA,
Okay,
like
yeah.
what they get out of it, just because they run 32 different like team tournaments, and I'm pretty sure they have like the team finals in person.
Yeah,
Obviously
they
it
at
probably pays
Redwood.
during
I'm at their
COVID.
Redwood studio. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty crazy.
How often
I
do
guess
the team
EA.
tournaments for Madden run? Like, it's got to be. How often are there tournaments for Madden then?
So they're ladder based online. So like you select who you want to try to qualify for.
Okay.
So like if I pick the Steelers, there might be like a week or two long leaderboard that you play in, and it's like the top 64 that qualified that selected the Steelers, playing like a closed bracket. It's partially online, and then I think like the final eight maybe are flown to their studio and they play it on stream.
32 times.
I'm pretty sure. Last time I followed it, obviously that changed during COVID whenever some of it went just completely online. But yeah, 32 team tournaments.
That's
And then
wild.
after that, they break it down, and then like the club winners, like the people that won the championship for each team, play against each other. And then they have like a final club champion. And then outside of that, they also have other tournaments too. So like that's all through Ultimate Team, but they'll have like a regulation team like versus tournament as
There's
well.
like that I think that's because the EA has a specific division for it. So like the EA competitive team is like legitimately a section of EA Sports, and like they would, I don't know where the funds would come from that. I'm
Yeah,
assuming
and I
that
mean that's what I'm thinking too, because EA is such a profit-driven company. I mean, what company isn't, but EA especially.
they follow
And
themselves.
yeah, they have to be making something off that because they do get some pretty big sponsors off that. And it's kind of crazy. I don't know if you've watched any of it, but they'll have like a lot of like former pro players eventually get into like commentating. They have to do the production on those is crazy.
I would love like a Hall of Fame.
A
Like
Hall
a
of Fame.
GWC like Hall of Fame, yeah.
Oh, that'd be
Like
something,
Grant and
wouldn't it?
Regs are just like in it forever, like you know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, Gren Ragzaki,
Yeah.
Cookie's in there, John Wayne's in there.
John's definitely in there, yeah. I think it'd just be
Yeah.
like that'd be cool. I mean, we're going into year 6. You know what I mean? Like it would be yeah, like I don't know. There was like there was something like I had heard from one of the kids. Like, what if the NHL teams that have like an esports org, like the Blue Jackets, let's say, what if they just picked their representative? Like they picked Cookie. They would pick Cookie. Okay.
Yeah.
And he automatically qualifies for the GWC, the 32 team portion of it, right? Let's say they go back to NHL 21 where every team had a representative. Like what if like so then the pros and cons to that is like A, he didn't have to qualify. So he doesn't, you know what I mean? Maybe he's not one of the best. But B, he's gonna get pushed. Like if he gets pushed by the NHL the team, like that's what I think that is. I'm so let down by the NHL teams because these kids like I mean, it's their choice to grind the game, right? But like, man, they select these teams. Like Jose is a Red Wings fan from Michigan. Like that's his team. Like you can't like that. That might be him and Pogues for the Leafs is probably because like obviously like Regs likes the Islanders, but I believe he's a. But anyways,
He's a
like
Bruins
I think
fan,
he's a
right?
Bruins fan. I think he grew up a Bruins fan. I honestly think he might be an Islander fan now. Like he's done. Jordan's done a great job converting him,
Yeah,
but
they've got a lifelong fan now.
yeah, but like other than that, man, like it's there isn't a lot of like perfect marriages. Like there isn't, and
No, and then you have some areas that are just like you couldn't really pick a Leafs guy though, right? Like because they had like Pogues and
but I
Saphir
mean,
this
what
year
if
that
they did? Like the other guys are
they
still
did.
open. Like so,
There's
what
the
would
thing where it
happen?
goes back to what do you value, engagement or the
Hmm.
competitive,
But I mean, I don't
right?
think anyone would complain if Pogues was the Leaf one. Is what I mean.
Yeah,
I
I
mean, I
get.
guess he didn't prove like he wouldn't have to like because like there's a very strong chance that he doesn't make it just because of how difficult the bracket is.
But you also have like you have a lot of good like Josh was banned this year. I think that's his region.
I guess that would be his region.
Um,
Yeah,
Saphir, like
his region might be
could
Winnipeg. To be honest with
who?
you, Winnipeg. It's
Who,
close.
Josh?
Thunder Bay, but I guess he's
I
from
have no idea,
Toronto.
dude.
He's
My
from Toronto.
Canadian geography is terrible.
Yeah, he's from Toronto. So yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be interesting. But like we'll have to wait and see, man. I think I I had a lot of fun, and I'm like I said, I'm very excited for next year's GWC. Hopefully, I'm involved again. Like I hope that I'm involved again. But even if I'm not, like it just sounds like there will be more emphasis put on throughout the year, as opposed to okay, it's December, we're announcing it. Okay, it's March. Now we gotta, you know what I mean? Here's 2 months of like just every weekend, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I hope that's the biggest change. I loved when they went to Hut for the aspect that it's in game. Like they have to go sign up on Battlefy, but like that's it. They're in game, and it's very simple. You get way more players in, but if you're going to allow that, they have to do something to highlight them. And I don't know how. Like, it's up. And I think that'll be ironed out over this year. But I would love to see, like, the major route. I think that the Halo way would be an interesting one. Again, 3 majors where all of those majors, there's tournaments, and then, like, the top 2 move on.
For that, play the finals at the tournament.
Play the finals in LAN at those events. They get promoted out the ass.
Get into that final event, whether it's at like the Stanley Cup Finals or something, or at whatever. It can feed into the follow the NHL year long.
Yep,
that'd be perfect.
I agree, man. But this is probably a really boring podcast for anyone that isn't interested in the GWC.
Aren't they all?
I mean, I guess that's true. Yeah, Thank you for everyone that listens, by the way. We love you.
Anything else NHL related?
I don't know. I'm terrified for 23 news. I gotta say.
I am and I'm not.
I am. Why aren't you?
What worst case scenario? It's 22, right?
That is devastating news. That's not worse news.
Worst case scenario. What are the chances it's 22?
I guess it can't be worse. I literally can't be, in terms of HUT. Like it can't be worse.
Yeah.
So, and I hope gameplay improves a little bit, but like that might be my bias, but I guess that's true. All right.
Yeah. Here's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Off topic here.
Yeah.
Dude, so my friend called me up last night, and he works in like tech.
Sure.
But he like wants to like find a different careers. I don't know. And I was thinking how bad it sucks in life that you just can't try things for like 3 months at a time. Like hypothetically, like I work in finance. Like I'm kind of locked into my career. I think I'd be good at marketing. I mentioned that before on the podcast. I would like to try that for like a firm for like 3 months. Make the same amount I do now. Just try it out for 3 months.
All right. Make the same, dude. You went to school for 6 years to get the same amount you make now. You're gonna be like, I want you guys to pay me the exact same to do an entry level where I have to learn everything.
No, I don't want to do entry level. I want to do like whatever is equal to my role now. I want to do that in another place. But like, dude, I think the skills transfer in a lot of things.
I'm sure. Yeah.
I think degrees are overrated in the sense that you're not really learning. You're just paying for whatever.
You're paying for the paper. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've graduated, and it's not like I never use. I mean, I didn't really use it.
Yeah, like I'm 29, you're like 31. Like I think, and I bet you do now too. After you got into commentating, you're like learning a lot about business in general, and those life lessons you're learning are applicable to almost everything in business.
Oh, I'm fairly certain I could be a social media manager for a company or a team for sure.
Wait, time out. Obviously, you could because that. Did you read that story about that?
Dude, the EA thing? Oh my god, yeah, dude, the EA thing?
So if nobody saw, there was like a Twitter meme for a minute, and it was like she's a 10, but she does this thing, Yeah. So the EA account tweeted out she's a 10, but she only plays single player games.
Yeah.
And it was just people roasting them just because EA has a ton of single player games.
Star Wars Fallen Order is like one of the best single player games in the last like 4 years.
Yeah, so it's like there was this article behind the scenes on what actually was happening at EA, like some of the employee reactions, and it was just like some regular dude that tweeted it out. Like there was no management there was nothing, and this is a billion-dollar company, right? Multi-billion-dollar company. So yeah, I'm fully confident you or I could go in and manage the social media team.
Did you see like why that was tweeted? Like the rumor?
What was the rumor?
EA higher ups in EA said, let's make a marketing campaign where we flame our the single player developers, and then release like better, like a great big content fix as a way to get huge amount of interest.
That article said that wasn't true.
Okay, thank God.
After that was tweeted, they had to figure out a plan to address it and make it look like it was intentional.
Thank God. What a
Which
mess.
is even worse.
Yeah.
But isn't that even worse?
Look, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand how that happens.
So you or I couldn't go in and do that job?
I've almost applied to the Ice Dogs a couple times. I would my next focus if ever came available, and I will reach out this year. I would love to be the radio guy for the Ice Dogs. Like, I would love to try it in the OHL. Like, there really isn't much lower of a league to try.
The issue with that though is that I don't know what the pay is, but
I don't care what the pay.
Okay, you don't care about the pay,
No.
right? But realistically, if you had the support, whoever, I know you guys have the dual
Well,
income
that's the thing about becoming self-employed, though, right? Like, you have to, when you want to go and chase your passion project. I've said this a lot. It'll be in my book eventually. Like, as you get older, like your responsibilities as they increase, it means that your line at which you can leave what you're doing, it goes up. Your income that you have to make in your hobby has to go up to make sure that at minimum you eat ramen noodles, you work 22 hours a day. That's on you. Like, that's fine. But if you have a wife or kids or a mortgage, like, they can't be impacted because they didn't sign up for that, right? Unless you have someone who's really supporting.
Most people, though, that's my point.
Yep.
If you and your wife were at a different point where you guys had a kid, you couldn't do that. You can be like, hey,
I wouldn't have done what I did. No.
Yeah, I'm gonna go call the Ice Dogs games. I'm getting paid $32,000 a year, and that's it.
I would be paid, but yeah, it wouldn't be a lot. So, dude, I did all the esports broadcasts for free. Every one I did was for free, and it finally paid off. And like, that's just, I think that's the majority of what things that happen to in life, dude. I didn't get my first YouTube check for like 3 years, right?
Of course, I totally get that, and it's the same thing in like, I mean, if you're in like the corporate side, like I worked a lot of shitty jobs to get the experience I needed, but like at this point, like I can't afford to do that. But like I know I'm more than qualified to go do a different type of job.
Like, if you were the same situation you're at right now, 6 years ago, okay, you're not married yet, you're just out of college or university, like you haven't gone and got your master's or anything like that, right? You don't own your home, and you don't have a kid on the way. Like, you could potentially be like, hey, I'm gonna take a year. You're not really risking much other than time.
Year,
you take a gap year. Yeah, I guess that isn't like an adult gap year. I'll tell, if anyone that doesn't know, I told my wife, give me 2 years. Give me 2 years. If worst comes to worst, I just go be a bus driver. My old man is a operations manager at Niagara Transit. I could just go be a bus driver, make $70,000-$80,000 a year, and that'd be it. That's it. Like,
Yeah.
Okay. My only responsibility is my wife. So basically, my goal once my hobby, so Twitch and YouTube, basically for my first year, I earned $1,000 a month. But that made me like take care of my portion of what I owed for like our rent and everything like that. So I wasn't costing my wife anything, and like very, very worked out, right? But like during that, like I worked like 18-hour days of like making videos and stuff like that. But like, yeah, like if I had a kid and things like that, I wouldn't have been able to do what I did, or I would have had to wait until I'm like here. Like, dude, I can't imagine like the amount of like, I wouldn't have slept for the last 6 years if I had a job on top, because I was working 40 hours a week doing, streaming and then making videos, but it wasn't like as much as what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, and then you were going to your soul crushing job.
Exactly. Like, so it was like, dude, it was just a bad mix.
Yeah.
Oh man, but that's for another podcast.
Yeah.
We do a top 5. What's our top 5? No top 5. I'll tell you what. Next week's top 5 will be our most wanted features added into NHL 23.
That works.
Okay, so that's a big one. That'll probably be like a 30-minute one. And if you're listening to this, and you're still listening to this, you're a real one. I want to know that you're a real one. I want you guys to tell me your top 5 in the comment section, and we'll scroll through, and we'll see how many we're off by, or if we're even in touch with the community anymore.
We're probably not.
I don't know, man. Like, after the whole AP thing, I just wish I had the ability to speak as EA to explain why I shouldn't, like, you know what I mean? Like, why? I want, just, that'll be one of the worst things that'll ever happen to me, because it couldn't be explained right. And once it's out there, dude, like, it doesn't matter if I wasn't my fault or things like that. Narrative is narrative,
Yeah, that was an interesting time.
That was literally the worst time, I think, in the last 3 years for me. That was a bad 4 days.
Yeah, I mean, now look at it. It's all over. It's all forgotten. Now it's just a meme.
No, it's not, dude. It's not.
You don't think so? I mean, I think
any bad change that happens now, I guarantee you go and search Facebook groups, like the Facebook Hut group, be like, yo, dude, look at Sleeves just, making them make untradeable packs everywhere now, even more.
Actually, like, you're negative about the game, but you also voice your opinion. Because there's other people like, Thrash and Henrique are pretty positive about the game. So I don't think they'd ever voice something for something to be changed that has a chance to at all be perceived negative, right?
Dude.
They don't really.
I mean, they were on board with AP changes.
Yeah.
But they didn't get flavor. They were on board with AP changes.
No, I agree with you, right? But in general, their content isn't focused around really that much.
I'm more cynical, which maybe is a bad thing. Like, maybe I'm just, like, so negative. I'll be honest with you guys. Like, no matter what, like, I think that's something that maybe is forgotten about or maybe not mentioned or brought up. Like, no matter what, even if you consider me an enemy and you think that all of my opinions are awful, dude, we want the same thing. Like, selfishly, like it's like an enemy of your enemy is your friend, right? Like, if the game is better, chances are my numbers are better.
Yeah.
So, like, at the end of the day, no matter what, I want the game to be better. I don't care if it, like, lines my pockets more, because if that happens, then I'm just perceived as, like, a dickhead. You know, if the game is just better, then it's more enjoyable, and people come and watch and want to actually know what's going on about Hut and things like that, then it's just, it's a completely different thing. Like, but, it is what it is. All right, dude. Yep. Anything else?
Dude, I don't think... Bella's going through her first heat. Did you guys get Summer spayed before she went through that?
You can't get German Shepherds spayed until their second one. It's really bad for their hips.
Okay, that's right. We did talk about that. Yeah, so after she goes through this, we have to get
Summer is 1, and she hasn't had her second one yet. She's 11. Okay. She's 13 months old now. So
you guys did the diapers?
We have, like, laminate flooring.
Oh, okay, perfect.
That's so, like, we tried it, but, like, dude, like, a 8-month-old German Shepherd with a diaper on her, bro, she just went absolutely bonkers. So we're just like, whatever. Like, we just, like, literally lived with a Swiffer bias, like, at all times.
Yeah.
But
listen, somebody at work did a boss move, by the way. So we got this guy, and I thought this was great.
Mm-hmm.
He's like he's a director on the technical side. He gets about like $8 million in funding a year, and he's always threatened. He's like, you know what? If we don't ever get X amount of money, I'm walking. So I got this email on Friday, and he's like, he's a group I'm responsible for.
Okay.
And it's like, this person's resigned, and he's took 7 people from his team, and we're in the process of submitting like our next fiscal year budget numbers, and we're supposed to present to like the COO in like a week. And all this stuff changed, and he left, and he's starting his own company.
He literally said, "I didn't get that budget, so we out."
Yep.
Good for him. We need more of that in the world. We need more of that in the world, dude.
I know.
If we don't get cross market and cross console by NHL 24, I'm going to MLB.
You're not. You depend on NHL.
I know. I'm so fucking stuck here, Keso. Oh god.
Yeah, you are.
It is what it is. All right, fellas. It's been fun, episode 38. Hopefully we get you back on Spotify if you're watching on YouTube. But appreciate you guys listening, and we will see you next week. Have a good one.